Hey, chicks, let's chat. So listen, one of the hardest things it is to deal with, in my experience, is dealing with the things in life that you want it, or that you want the most, but you either haven't got yet, or you're not gonna get it. You haven't got it yet, you're not gonna get it, or you had it and lost it, and it's something that can never come back. How you deal with those things? What you do about them? Because a lot of times your heart doesn't stop longing for them. Your desires to have them is still there. Yet, for whatever reason, you can't have it. You may have a desire for a loved one that is gone on. That person is never coming back. So what you do? You stop living. You stop living because they gone. Do you let your life go to shambles because they're not here beside you? They're not here to thick and thin with you. They're not here to death do y'all part anymore. What do you do? How you manage that? Because you thought that y'all had more time. You thought that things was gonna turn out a little different for y'all. Sometimes it could be a parent that lost a kid. You thought you was gonna be able to go to graduations and weddings and all type of lifetime achievements, and it just did not play out like that, and you didn't see that coming. And there's nothing that you can do to turn back the hands of time to change that. How do you continue on in those situations, right? Situations where it's things that you wanted, that you just, for whatever reason, God has just not opened that door for you, right? You may have wanted to be married before you were 30, and it didn't happen. Now you 45, and you like, man, it's piss in the dating pool, piss and poop in the pool, and you don't see any prospects. And now you're having to consider whether or not you're going to grow old alone. What do you do? Right? Do you keep the faith? Do you just accept what's going on, how things are? Do you settle? Do you just pick somebody just to have anybody? So like I said, there's so many different scenarios that we all have to deal with them in life. Nobody has got everything that they wanted. Life has not played out exactly how they wanted for nobody. For nobody. Why? Because your plan was not his plan. Whatever his plan for you, that was his plan for you, and it may not have lined up in no way, shape, form, or fashion in the way that you thought that it would. Well, one thing about it, it's going to be his plan over your plan. It's going to be his plan. Now, for myself, the best way that I have learned to deal with it is, number one, by paying attention to it. Like, I could remember going to my grandma in like my mid-20s. And I'm like, man, this life ain't playing out like I thought it would be. I thought I would be much further ahead by now. And I was in my 20s then, I believe. And I remember my grandma telling me, life ain't go how I planned it either, So in that moment, I felt a little comfort, like, okay, cool then, I'm just not the only one, right? Because I don't know, it's like at a certain age, you when people start telling you when you're young, oh, you could do anything, you could be anything, that translates to, I can have my life be whatever I want it to be. And that's not how that goes. And that's not to say you can't have some of the things that you speak into existence. You can't have some of the things that you want. Yes, yes, and yes, you can. But will everything go the way that you imagined it And when you have all of the things that you think you wanted, and no, you won't. Why? Because some of that stuff is just not a part of what God has for you. Some of the direction that you want to go in, God said, no, you're going into the opposite direction. That's just not part of the hand of cards that I'm dealing for you. And it won't be. And for some of us, those are heavy moments, you know, because when you thinking that, hey, at some point I'm going to be somebody's wife, and then you never end up being somebody's wife. And that was something that you really wanted to do, you know, and then it just never played out for you like that. So for some people, they wanted to be moms, you know, and no matter what kind of in vitro they tried, no matter how many times they tried, it just did not happen for them in that way. And sometimes those are some hard pills that we all have to swallow, you know. And how do you swallow those pills and keep going on and not live a life where you depressed, not live a life where you feel defeated because this didn't happen for you, but every other couple that you know, this happened for them, or every other person that you know, they was able to go and finish their degree, and then for whatever reason you just could never finish yours, and you maybe were smarter than everybody else. You know, it's so many different scenarios, like I said, that I could give you, but I can give you those different scenarios only to back up the fact that it's something that all of us have to contend with that did not play out in the way that we thought that it would. Some of us travel down roads that we never foreseen, and it was hard getting out of those slumps, if you ever got out of them. You know, most people didn't think they would be a drug addict for 20, 30 years of their life. Who envisioned that? Who thought that was going to be a great space to be in for 20 or 30 or more years? Nobody. But yet, the realities of life said that, hey, people have found themselves, you know, with that stronghold on them for years. And the roads that it took them down were embarrassing, were disgusting, were just straight from the pits of hell. You know, they never would have seen themselves that low. You know, and sometimes you can get so low that you can't even see yourself out of that situation. You can't, like, you can stay in that situation for so long that this is who you become. You can't even recognize who you are because you never seen yourself being in that type of situation in life. Now you can't never see yourself not being that person. So yeah, again, what you do in life throw you those curveballs that you didn't foresee coming, or that, you know, you thought one day things would be different, and then it didn't happen. You know, or the things that did happen, you never properly planned for. You didn't see that your parents would die while you were in your teenage years, right? Or you didn't see that, you know, your mom would not be around for you when you had your first baby to help you through that. You know, so my words of wisdom and my advice in situations like this would be to continue to go in the direction that your heart sees fit for. Like, and I know your heart can be truly deceptive sometimes, right? But it's some things that your heart just won't let up on, you know. And if you have it in your heart to be a mom, but you can't conceive, then that says to me that your duties are to help other mothers. It's to help other mothers and to help other children. And that may or may not be in the form of adopting somebody's kid. It could just be mentoring somebody's kid. It could be taking a mom aside and giving her some motherly advice. It could be taking a mom aside and say, hey, I know you need a break. So on this weekend and that weekend, I keep your kids for you. Just because it seems like you're overwhelmed. It means that you have to take a different avenue to satisfy your heart's desire. It doesn't mean that you're totally off with what you were wanting, because what you want is what you want. What your heart wants, your heart wants. It just means that that's just not what God had for you. Okay, you thought you were going to be a wife or a husband. Hasn't played out like that for you. So then you support the people who are wives. You support the people who are husbands. You know, you don't, girl, ain't nobody no good. That's why I ain't got married. No, you ain't got married because you haven't found a mate that wanted to marry you and you wanted to marry them. And that God said, okay, and God gave the green light to. Right? But oftentimes we'll start speaking negative stuff about things that didn't play out well for us. You did want to be married. You did want somebody. But it didn't play out like that. And maybe that's just not what God had for you. Right? But if you know in your heart of heart, you love the concept of marriage, you love the ideal, okay, then you give your support to those people. Don't talk them out of their husband when they're going through something. Help keep them folks in the relationship as much as you can. Give them godly advice. Give them words of wisdom. Pray for them. You show up in that area in a different way. That's what I think you're supposed to do. You know, you find yourself motherless or fatherless and you really need them. Okay, then you have to start looking at the people close to you. Maybe your mom or your dad gone, or maybe your uncle and your auntie are present. And maybe your uncle or your auntie might don't even have a kid. They're going to be your bonus parents to help you through whatever it is that you're trying to get through. And then you may say, well, yeah, I got an auntie, but she on drugs. Or da-da-da. Okay, well, who else? It's somebody else around. You're just not looking at them in that way because you're stuck at, I want my mama to do this. And either my mama ain't here or my mama maybe don't even want to do the job. But it's other people that can do just as much or more sometimes, or they can at least come close to it. You just have to look around and tap into what you do have. Whenever you don't have whatever it is that you need, you got to make the most out of what it is you do have, and you got to be able to see, okay, that's my coworker. She probably as old as my mom is. Let me see if I can ask her some questions. Maybe see if, I could take her out to dinner. Pick her brain and see what kind of advice she may give me in situations like this. You just have to use what you do have and tap into what you do have whenever, the cards just didn't play out in the way that you thought they would. You lost your child early. Maybe your child died or something. Or had a birth defect or whatever, never grew up. It's plenty moms that you can support in situations like that. Plenty mamas need that, need your experience, need your expertise, right? And it's plenty kids who need you. Plenty kids who need you. So yeah, that's my advice to you. Don't get so overwhelmed. And if you do get so overwhelmed, don't stay there. Start looking for the next best thing. Because all the times you're not going to get what it is that you thought you were going to get. And sometimes by the time you get it, it still may not give you the satisfaction that you thought it was going to give you. You know, you may have thought, hey, I'm going to get married in my 20s. I'm going to have a family, boom, boom, boom. And then you might not get married until you 50. You ain't got that same kind of family, and y'all probably not going to be able to do all those wonderful things that you saw yourself doing had you got married earlier. It don't say that you can't still have a wonderful, successful marriage and happy life in your 50s. It's just going to be different. It's just not going to be the way you thought it was going to be. And those are the things that you have to start accepting, especially as you start getting older. But for the people who are younger, this message is for y'all too, because just to let you know that no matter how much planning you do, no matter how much everything you do right, it's okay when things don't go exactly how you had them planned in your heart and in your mind. And don't let life be over for you because it has not worked out that way. Because it was many times I was disappointed when I didn't get my degree in the time frame that I thought I was supposed to. You know, every time I went on the job and I'm like, man, this job paying this amount, I need this. I know they want somebody with a degree, but I'm real close. You know, I used to be buku disappointed. You know, and it's like, if only I had this, if only I had that could, you know. So I understand the disappointments. I definitely understand the disappointments, trust me. But when it's not there and you don't have it, what you gonna do? You gonna fold? You gonna give up? You gonna cry till you're depressed? No, that wasn't an option for me. Now for some people, they built different. They'll go ahead and fall into that pot. But my grandmama always told me, just because you fall in the mud don't mean you have to wallow in it. You know what I'm saying? So things may not be going how you want them to go. Okay, what else can I do? What's next? Figure out something different. And that's pretty much what I did in terms of children and stuff like that, right? At the point where I realized, you know what, I may not be having no kids, because hey, I done tried a few times now. And I said, okay, well, it just is what it is. I still love on kids in the way that I would love on my own kids when I have that opportunity. If it's a kid that I see I want to buy something for, I want to do something for, I do that. Whether it's my niece, whether it's my nephew, whether it's a random kid, I show them the same love that I have in me that had I had my own kids, I would have gave them that. Same situation with marriage and stuff. I don't have a friend married that I would encourage them to get a divorce. I don't. Now, if they was maybe getting beat on or something like that, and it was just tearing them up, or, you know, I don't know. I would have a hard time recommending that they get a divorce. Because in my mind, you know, unless it was something that it was detrimental to them, you know, physically, mentally, it's just tearing them apart, emotionally and mentally, whatever he's doing, or he's physically abusive, okay, yes. But outside of that, because I love the concept and the idea and the bond of marriage so much. Me, I do. I love it. I respect it. I always, you know, try to encourage my friends to work through whatever it is, you know. And even with that respecting, I ain't saying I done did everything right now when it comes to, you know, living and dealing with people, etc., so forth. But no, that is a concept, and I love it. I respect it, and I think it's truly a gift from God when God brings two individuals together and they able to live and build and do life together. Like, I ain't too many things I think better than that. And I think it's one of the hardest things to do. So when people actually do it and do it well and they happy and they thriving, and they with a person that they still find attractive after years and years. They with a person they still love after years and years. Like, man, what's better than that for me? But anyways, yeah, so that's that. I just encourage y'all to figure out what else you can do when the cookie doesn't crumble in the way that you thought that it would. Figure out your next best thing and go with it.